1 Kings chapter 21. Sermon 1 by Paul C. Jong. If you make the church your own, the curse of God comes upon you. 1 Kings chapter 21, verses 1 through 16. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, next to the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. So Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a vegetable garden, because it is near, next to my house. And for it I will give you a vineyard better than it. Or, if it seems good to you, I will give you its worth in money. But Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid that I should give the inheritance of my fathers to you. So Ahab went into his house sullen and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. And he lay down on his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no food. But Jezebel his wife came to him, and said to him, Why is your spirit so sullen that you eat no food? He said to her, Because I spoke to Naboth the Jezreelite, and said to him, Give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it pleases you, I will give you another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give you my vineyard. Then Jezebel his wife said to him, You now exercise authority over Israel. Arise, eat food, and let your heart be cheerful. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. And she wrote letters in Ahab's name, sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters to the elders and the nobles who were dwelling in the city with Naboth. She wrote in the letters, saying, Proclaim a fast, and seat Naboth with high honor among the people, and seat 2 men, scoundrels, before him, to bear witness against him, saying, You have blasphemed God and the king. Then take him out, and stone him, that he may die. So the men of his city, the elders and nobles who were inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel had sent to them, as it was written in the letters which she had sent to them. They proclaimed a fast, and seated Naboth with high honor among the people. And 2 men, scoundrels, came in and sat before him, and the scoundrels witnessed against him, against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth has blasphemed God and the king. Then they took him outside the city and stoned him with stones, so that he died. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth has been stoned and is dead. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give you for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead. So it was when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab got up and went down to take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. This passage is about something that happened in the days of King Ahab of northern Israel. Because of this affair, Queen Jezebel was killed in the end, and dogs tore at her corpse and dogs licked her blood. Northern Israel was the nation Jeroboam had founded. Jeroboam was a man who stood against God. God entrusted the nation to him for a while, but he did not turn back and kept leading that nation in order to protect his own authority. After Jeroboam died, his son became king, and after several kings, Ahab became king. Ahab seems to have been a man who looked very weak-willed. Why Ahab coveted Naboth's vineyard? Ahab coveted the vineyard next to his royal palace. Having no vegetable garden, he had the thought that he would like to plant vegetables and put them on his own table. So he went to Naboth, the owner of the vineyard, and negotiated with him. He would pay him plenty of money, so sell it. But Naboth said he could never sell it, for this land was the inheritance handed down from his fathers for generations, the land he had received in order to keep it. However much one might be a king, it was not land that could be bought and sold. The people of Israel each had land handed down from generation to generation. When one died, he passed it on to his descendants, and even if he had sold it, because his circumstances were hard, when the 50th year came, the Jubilee, he could get it back again. In that way, the land always remained that family's own. Seen in the flesh, it is so. But seen spiritually, this vineyard points to the church of God. Naboth, killed by Jezebel's scheme. Ahab was the king, and yet he tried to make that vineyard into a vegetable garden of his own private possession. When Naboth would not listen, he took to his bed sick, not even eating, because things did not go as he wished. Queen Jezebel came near and asked, "Was something wrong? Why was he not eating?" When Ahab told her the story, Jezebel said, "You now exercise authority over Israel." 1 Kings chapter 21. Verse 7. You are the king. So why can you not do as you please? If one of the people will not listen, can you not simply take it from him? That was her point. Do not worry, she said. I will take that land and give it to you. And Jezebel wrote letters to the people under her. Their content was to frame Naboth with the sin of having cursed God and the king, and to kill him. She stamped King Ahab's seal on them and sent them. The officials could not but do as they were told. The content of that decree was this: proclaim a fast and appoint a day for worshiping God, and then seat Naboth in a high place among the assembly. He was to be seated like an elder of the faith. Then they were to set up 2 scoundrels, men who would bear false witness for a few coins, and have them say that they had heard that man curse God and the king. In Israel, if there were just 2 witnesses, a man could be put to death on the spot, and there was nothing to be said. Moreover, since the 2 sins of cursing God and cursing the king applied together, it was carried out just so. When the scoundrels testified falsely, the assembly at once dragged Naboth out and stoned him to death. There, amid streaming blood, he died on the spot. When the news that he was dead reached Jezebel, Jezebel went straight to Ahab and told him now to take Naboth's vineyard. That is the content of today's passage. Have you murdered and also taken possession? Reading what follows, Elijah meets King Ahab and speaks. It says, "You shall speak to him, saying, Thus says the Lord, Have you murdered and also taken possession? And you shall speak to him, saying, Thus says the Lord, In the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth, dogs shall lick your blood, even yours." 1 Kings chapter 21. Verse 19. God was saying that because of this affair he would judge Jezebel and Ahab. In the end, he made the dogs lick their blood and tear at their bodies. It was because they had killed their own people as they pleased and had tried to seize the vineyard. The reason the Bible has recorded this affair is to give us a truly precious lesson. If you make the church your own, a curse comes upon you. Spiritually, the vineyard means the church of God. This word shows that if anyone tries to seize the church of God by human ways and means, he is cursed. It was for this very thing that Jezebel was killed. When we look at those who stand against the church of God, They are truly pitiful people. They treat the people under them carelessly and despise them, regarding them like slaves and creating an atmosphere of terror. But whoever does so is cursed. Whoever does not regard God's people as precious, but treats them carelessly, thinking, "I am the pastor of this church. I am the pastor's wife," is cursed. Neither must anyone try to make what belongs to the church his own. Everything is God's. We are only stewards entrusted with it for a while. We are only gatekeepers and keepers who keep it well and use it well. We are not the owners. The owner is God. There are those who do not provide what the people under them need, and who, if they do not listen, harass and threaten them. Who on earth can treat whom carelessly? Because one has become a leader of a church and a pastor, may one carelessly threaten those below? Upon those who do such things comes the stern judgment of God. I truly hate such a sight, and it is not only I who hate it. Whoever regards the people of God's church as nothing, threatens them, and presses them down in the flesh is cursed. Who is with the people of God who believe in the gospel of the water and the Spirit? God is with them. Though you and I are weak beings, because God is in us, we must see one another as precious ones, as those who have God dwelling in them. If instead anyone regards a person of God like his own slave, the curse is already fixed. The wretched end of Ahab and Jezebel. After this happened, God sent Elijah and rebuked Ahab. "Did you kill a man as you pleased? Just as Naboth died, and the dogs licked his blood, so the dogs will lick your blood also," he said. And it actually came to pass that way. Even after her husband died, Jezebel was still at the window, painting her eyes and adorning her head, looking down. Even as the army commander was coming to kill her, she asked, as if in mockery, "Is it peace?" The army commander said, "What peace is there for you? Who will throw Jezebel down from the wall? Who will be on my side?" Then the eunuchs who were beside Jezebel pushed her out of the window, and she fell and died. After she fell dead, the dogs came and tore and ate her whole body until nothing was left but her skull and her feet and the palms of her hands. The rest, the dogs of the town ate up, licking even her blood, so that no corpse remained. That is God's will and God's word. It means that if anyone despises the church and treats the workers of the church carelessly like his own playthings, God punishes him like this. Do not treat a servant of God carelessly. We must truly keep our wits about us. In the past, the house next door to the church once despised us severely. Though it was not even their own house, they would not let us drive in a nail or cut a tree. Unable to bear it any longer, I once asked, in the name of God, that a curse would come upon them. You may ask how a servant of God could do such a thing, but precisely because he is a servant of God, he can. We had never made enemies of them, nor done them any harm, yet that house ended up suffering great hardship. The one who in earlier days would glare at me fiercely when he saw me on the street now lowers his head when he sees me and cannot even look at me. That attitude of treating people carelessly just because he had a house was broken like that. Such a thing is no more than what anyone can come to have. Who can make God's inheritance his own? Who can despise the church of God and the people of God? Who can make the inheritance of God his own? Who can make you his own possession? We are all God's servants. Yet from time to time such people arise inside the church. If at the retreat we had not sifted out those who had fallen into a wrong path and were not saved, there would also have been those who would try to take the believers and leave. Who would follow someone out and earn money to hand over to him? It is because this is the church of God that we earn material things and serve the gospel. Who would earn money and bring it to offer to some other person? To think that such a thing could happen is itself foolish. Even one's own child, even a very young child, does not do such a thing. How much less would grown adults and young people do it? Who can make a person his own servant? To think so is itself foolish. Everyone, is it so or is it not? Yes, it is. King Ahab, who died in battle, because the king joined forces with his wife and killed one of his people, God judged that king. King Ahab, too, went out to war and died. He himself would have thought he merely died by ill luck. But in truth, God judged him. What happened when Ahab died is this. Ahab joined hands with the king of southern Judah and went out to drive back the enemy. But Micaiah, the true prophet, told him not to go out, for God was not pleased. Around Ahab, there were many prophets who flattered him. And Micaiah, who spoke the truth, was thrown into prison instead. As he was being imprisoned, Micaiah said that if the king returned in peace, the Lord had not spoken by him. This meant that he would not come back from the battle. Ahab was afraid, so he had the southern king wear his own royal robes, while he himself put on the clothes of an ordinary soldier and went out to the battlefield. But an arrow that some soldier shot without aiming happened to enter and lodge between the joints of Ahab's armor, and Ahab bled on his chariot and died. It was not even aimed. It was simply an arrow someone shot, yet the hand of God struck him. The virtuous woman and the foolish woman. I do not like Jezebel. It is because she regarded her husband as nothing. Though it is a wife's proper part to help her husband hold his head high and do his work well, she did not do so. We call a wife a helper within. It means one who helps from inside. But Jezebel played the king herself, killing people as she pleased and ruling the nation. As a result, she killed her own husband. As it were, she herself died, and her children all died too. Of course, a wife, too, must say what must be said, and so must a husband. In that way they must uphold the will of God together. But when the husband is reduced to counting for nothing, it is not right. Proverbs says that a virtuous woman turns the credit for her merit to her husband. Even when she has done well and receives praise, she turns it back, saying she did it because her husband told her how. A virtuous woman rises early at dawn and adorns herself before the family gets up. She prepares what her husband and children are to do, sets out the meals, and gives her family what she has made with her own hands. When something worthy of respect arises, she turns the credit to her husband. The Bible calls such a person a virtuous woman. What, then, is the foolish woman? Her opposite? She says she herself did everything well. She says her husband is worthless, and she did it all. The point is that we must not become like Jezebel. It may sound like someone else's story, but we must learn through this word. Do not steal the glory that should return to God. We must all live for the glory of God. We must live so that the will of God is accomplished well. When some work has been achieved, we ought to give the glory, saying it was done by the faith and the wisdom God gave. Yet when things go well, people swagger, saying it is because their own head is good. God blesses the person who gives honor and glory to God. But the person who takes for himself the glory that should return to God is cursed. Upon the person who makes the glory that should return to God his own private possession and lives only for himself, the curse of the Lord comes. Therefore we must be careful. There are such people inside the church too, and there are also those who imitate such a manner. When I see such a sight, it is truly pitiful. The head seems clever, but there is no wisdom. If one does not know how to honor the honorable, one is base. Money should be earned diligently and spent with dignity on right things that benefit people. Both men and women must live that way. If you meet the wrong spouse, your life goes crooked. The one who has met a virtuous woman is a happy man. Even with a husband who seems a little lacking, when the wife does some work well in the neighborhood and then says her husband told her to do it this way, people praise that husband. He receives respect. The man may seem a bit slow, but his thinking is sound. He is a man who cares for others. It is the same for a man. What is beautiful and what is personal, he turns over to his wife. When told that he dresses well, he says his wife did it for him. When told that his skin looks good, he says his wife has taken care of him. To do so is a great thing. When the husband is raised up, the wife is raised up together with him. The end of a minister who made believers into thieves. Sadly, there was such a case even among our ministers. One minister regarded his own wife as a holy person, but what that wife actually did was not so. That wife, it is said, ordered the believers to obtain expensive goods for her, even by means that were not upright. She wanted to give her husband nice things, yet she would not buy them with money. She went so far as to teach the believers the method of secretly taking goods from a store, and had them do so. The believers, thinking it was right, did just so. Several of them. Some, it is said, could not bring themselves to steal, so they worked and bought the items one by one to give her. I heard of this through a sister who was present there. Such a person is exactly like Jezebel. It is the attitude that her own people may go to prison or may even die. If you make believers into thieves and kill them, you end up the same way yourself. In the end, that minister left the church wretchedly. They demanded their offerings back, written out, item by item. Our church is a church that handed back even such offerings. Since Christianity came into being, the only ones who have taken back the offerings they gave are that family. Such people are, if anything, servile before the world. That minister's child was once injured on the head by glass at kindergarten, and over a matter in which they should rightly and openly have demanded compensation, they tried, it is said, to draw out state aid by making it look as though she were a widow without a husband. To avoid paying money, they went so far, it is said, as to take the form of a legal divorce, and that while the husband was alive and well. Such a sight is truly despicable. Why not do things that benefit others, instead of going so far as to turn a living spouse into a person who does not exist? Those who are like Jezebel tremble before the world. Yet before the people of God, they act without restraint, like a witch. Where there is a cause, there is a result. Everyone, that is how it is. When we read the passage, it becomes a lesson at once. Why did it come to this? Because he sees the vineyard. Because he made what is God's his own, he received this curse. That is why he even killed a person. Where there is a cause, there is a result. Should a king, because he has no vegetable garden, seize another's land? God said, "Did you kill as you pleased? I will judge you." And he judged the husband first, and the wife as well. I wanted to preach this sermon at the retreat, but I did not. It is because only a very small number of people do such things. When we read the passage, the cause, the process, and the result all appear. Because they did such things, such a result came out. Where is there a result without a cause? All of us are insufficient, but we must seek the glory of God. Has God not blessed us? Has he not made us live well? He gives us the remission of sin, makes us his workers, and gives us the material things we need. What God gives us is truly much. If we are for God, God is also for us. Whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. This is the law of God. If someone says he wants to receive the remission of sin and receive God's blessing, and yet does not himself live for God, how could he receive blessing? When he tries to make what belongs to the church his own personal possession, what blessing would come upon him? Only a curse comes. There is what is called a holy thing, a holy object, an object offered to God. We must not lay our hands on it. Whatever else one may do, if one makes what is God's one's own personal possession, one is cursed. We must make it clear whether a thing is common property or personal property. The church is God's, not ours. I hope no such people will come forth. The reason I preach this sermon is that, granting that those who have already done so have done so, I want at least those who are now about to do so not to do it. There has been no one who did this and did not pay the price. I know beforehand. I know that person, going on like that, will meet hardship. So I warn them. I tell them not to do it. For doing so is fatal to the person himself, to his children, and to his soul. Yet there are those who keep on. When I admonish a few times and then stop, those at their side who urge them on to do still more help them along. And then in the end they collapse greatly. I do not lay my hand on them, even with one I would really like to deal with. I do not lay a hand on him, but pray to God. God, please do according to your justice. Please keep the church from suffering harm. Please keep the believers and the workers from feeling intimidated. Please handle it, God. So I pray. You also look around you, whether there are such people or not. Such things are not many, but from time to time they arise even among our ministers. In particular cases, the ministers' wives and the brother ministers must also be careful. Do not mistake the church for your own. If you make the church your own, a curse comes. The church is God's, and we also are God's. Everything is God's. We are no more than those who are entrusted with it for a while. Manage it profitably, and then go. When I die, do I take this with me? Can I pass it on to my child and go? I cannot. Long ago I declared plainly to my child, this belongs to the church, not to me. You, too, either work diligently and do God's work, or go out into the world, work uprightly, earn honestly, and live. Your Father has no inheritance to leave you. I am a man who from the first had nothing. I live with that made plain. Our King is Jesus, because the believers and the workers of our church obey well and say yes, yes. Some take them for simpletons, but that is absolutely not so. They are God's people. Do not take them lightly. They live simply because they believe in God. What calculation is needed in believing in God? He is our leader and our King, so it is the people's part to follow as the King leads and to obey as he commands. But would it do to scheme more cleverly than the King and try to drag the King along by one's own will? That is death itself. Jesus is our King. Would it do not to follow his commands and instead tell Jesus to follow us? Would it do for the church to tell Jesus to follow our will? We must follow the Lord. The Lord is the King. There is a reason I preach this, even though I seldom preach such sermons. It is to keep you from being cursed. If you do such things, a curse comes. Look around you once. See whether there is anyone who acts without restraint and yet receives blessing from God. They have all been cursed. Even if I name no names, you know them well. It is happening even now, in the present tense. To such people I would like to say, stop while you are being told, in kind words, I have finished the message.